Hey everybody, hope you're doing really well. So, quick discussion on bedding plane irons and the frogs we find in our Bailey planes. So let's take a quick look at the wooden one and see what we find. Now, what happens is I use double iron planes on my bench planes. I don't have any single iron planes. I don't have any use for them. But what happens is when you attach a cap iron to a cutting iron, there's just some natural bend that happens when you attach the two. The two are spring loaded, and that's a good thing because it kind of keeps the front of the cap iron tight there, just keeps the whole thing locked together. You wouldn't want it to just be completely flat. It doesn't need to be. I don't know if you can catch it there, but when I offer up something straight, you can see that there's a gap underneath, and that doesn't matter. If we take a look inside the mouth of the plane, we can see there at the top and there at the bottom, that's where it's been referencing. It hasn't on this central surface been touching or moving at all. And when we look at the back of the iron, we can see that as well. Up the top here, we can see where it's been rubbing, where it's been adjusted. So even in this wooden plane, we don't have to worry about everything touching and being absolutely perfectly flat. Okay? Remember, this is woodworking and not engineering. And that's not to say these things aren't really accurately made and have to be biased in the right way to make them work, but it's not about creating this dead flat NASA optical mirror telescope type stuff. That's not applicable. So when we look at these planes, the metal planes, if you were to take any of these Bailey style planes, and I would probably include into that things like your Cliftons and your Lee Nielsens and Wood Rivers and whatnot, hold them up to the light and you look at where the frog touches the cutting iron, you should see a gap. That gap doesn't exist there, and if this part of the plane wasn't there, you wouldn't see a gap there. Now, first of all, when we take off the lever cap, if we think about where pressure is applied, it applies pressure here at the top, right at the top of the frog, and onto the hump of the cap iron underneath, which pushes the blade down right at the bottom. What it's not doing is applying pressure there. It's not trying to flatten out the iron. It's putting pressure there, and it's putting pressure there. And same thing as with that jack plane. There is just a natural tendency for the two to hollow out when they're fixed together. Again, the lighting here is dreadful. I apologise. But hopefully you can see that it's not dead flat. It doesn't matter. And you can see on this Stanley plane, see the wear here? That's how little it's actually referencing on the top of the plane. Because it's only touching this relatively small area. And some people will say things like these modern Stanleys, they're not so good. You don't get all the frog mating surfaces. That's where they were starting to cut costs. I don't know, I'm not an engineer. Maybe that was to cut costs, but if I look at that, that looks to me like it would be easier to machine because I haven't got so much surface area. But it still fundamentally works. There's nothing wrong with it. Perfect, absolutely perfect. Now, say I had a cap iron which might be bent. Maybe you've had a plane given to you. This cap iron is made out of remarkably soft metal. Now if you safely take your cap iron, you can always bend it, put it in the vise and bend it, or the cap iron is pretty much straight here. You could always take a file and just file off and reduce it that way so it doesn't have so much bend. And the wonderful things about these Bailey planes is they are made in such a beautiful way that they're very sympathetic to how manufacturing happens. They're made in such a way where not everything has to be space age engineering. They can be made well and just enough to do a good job. Now we'll take a quick look at this earlier type of frog, just for reference. And this is the one that everybody gets excited about, but it doesn't work any better than this one. And again, this plane iron, you will see, is also bent. Okay? Kind of supposed to. And I mean, if you want to go ahead and buy new cutter irons and all the rest of it, you fill your boots. It's no skin off my nose. It doesn't bother me one bit. But just be open to, thinking that your tool isn't that bad in the first place. And another thing to look at on planes is if your lateral adjustment lever is quite visible, it means that quite a lot of your cutter iron is being used, which suggests the plane works. So, there's lots of nuance. I really look forward to doing a more detailed video about the bones of these planes and getting to know them a bit better. But anyway, thanks for watching for now, and we'll catch up soon.